Hey guys, this is Anon, and today I'm going to feature an older tank. As I've been kind of working through some of my personal goals of getting a bunch of older stuff to 100 battles, just to get it ranked for the fun of it, I've really enjoyed finding kind of some gems in both the lower tiers and mid tiers, or stuff that is just frequently overlooked. And for me, the M10 Wolverine was a really pleasant surprise kind of this time around. I finished my last 50 battles in it or so and really enjoyed it. So I decided I'd go ahead and put together a video just featuring this guy. I know I don't do a ton of low tier stuff, but it seemed worthy of it because I really think this is just an extremely overlooked tank in good hands with that turret and a really pretty decent gun, even though it will troll you a little bit. It's just a lot of fun to work some of the lower tiers with. So we're just going to jump into a few of the games that kind of stood out to me over those last 50. Had lots of aces in it, but you know, different things kind of qualify. So I just wanted to share it a little bit. So here, instantly just working over the dunes. This tank has some really pretty good gun depression. You can see here where I've already missed a couple shots because dispersion isn't really fantastic. The gun handling is not terrible, especially at tier 5, because I actually find that most tier 5's fairly unenjoyable because of the gun handling, but this one really didn't bother me too much, and having that turret is really nice. Plus, it's really pretty quick. It doesn't have a ton of armor, but it has some nice sloping to it, so as long as you're angling around, I find that you definitely can bounce quite a few shots, especially at these lower tiers where, you know, sometimes you get guys that aren't necessarily aiming quite as perfectly, or that run right in front of your gun like that, which is always fantastic. But you also don't have, I feel like low tiers kind of balance themselves a little bit because you get a lot of teams that don't support you, so it kind of balances out every way here. So I'm just really pushing right through and rolling, and this is about the time actually too I noticed that I have 5 kills, so I'm getting kind of excited, and I'm going to go a little bit more aggressively because of that, because I would love to be able to pick up 7 here, especially because my team has mostly been camping. So that's why I actually asked for it. But I've also kind of noticed, I think my M6 has gone AFK. My T1 Heavy's gone AFK right next to me, and my other guys are mostly camping, although I'm pretty low health, so I have to kind of work around and use some of these dead tanks and go ahead and give myself a shot for it. But honestly, calling for it didn't really matter because I don't think it would have really made any difference. The T1 is just now starting to track with his gun again, and so I don't know if he recognizes or not. But either way, using some corpses, you can see the great mobility in the Wolverine, to be able to kind of work around and keep that gun off me and pick up the nice Rossini, which is, you know, still rare in any tank in any situation, so I'm always kind of excited for that. And that's one of those battles that just kind of happens in low tiers where it didn't feel like I was fighting too hard, but I also only got so much support from the team, so you just kind of roll through. You can see that no one on the team did over 700, so just kind of those. So working right in here on Himmelsdorf now, which always creates a very kind of different battle situation, especially in a tank destroyer without a lot of armor. You don't have the hills to work with your gun depression, so you have to attack it quite a bit differently, and that's why I always like showing at least one of these flat maps if I can, just because, yeah, obviously the situations can be quite a bit more difficult. In these low tiers, I tend to, I don't call direction a whole lot anyway, but at these low tiers I find it doesn't help a whole lot, so I just kind of tend to run with the largest pack that naturally forms, and then in a tank destroyer like this, I'm just going to hang back a little bit. I don't want to be the tip of the spear so much as support a little bit and make sure that I'm not taking unnecessary damage early on. So that's what I'm doing. Once we get to this point, it's pretty clear that the red team has gone the other direction. So now I want to be more aggressive. Anytime this happens on Himmelsdorf, I want to push really hard because I'm hoping to pick up one of their slower tanks on the backside, or someone that was maybe slow getting off spawn. But either way, there's usually one or two that are going to start to isolate out. So I know I could turn around because you know they're just going to drive in a circle, but if I'm in anything with speed whatsoever, and honestly the Wolverine has medium class speed, you can see here on flat ground I'm cruising it up to 44 now, so that's going to be able to close the distance pretty quick. And I'm just hoping to be able to, like I said, pick up those stragglers, because any battle that you can start up a tank or two is always beautiful. And luckily, right off the bat, here we go. So I've got a Leopard that kind of lingered behind. He was sitting in an odd position, so maybe he lagged out for a second. But either way, I'm going to pick up some nice free damage. Only got one shot in, but still able to do that really quickly. Unfortunately, I picked up a few more of them than I was necessarily hoping for. So I'm just being careful because at this angle, to pop out, I am going to have to really show my side. This isn't much of a side scraping tank. Most of the low tier stuff isn't, but the tracks just aren't big enough to do it. So I'm just trying to poke out in between shots from the KV-1, and I was actually shooting for his back drive wheel there. Just happened to miss it. I was going for him again, but with that PZ running up, I'm going to go ahead and take that shot so I can back out, because I don't want to take 2 shots since it was clear I was probably going to take 1. And luckily, you know, they're not pushing me really hard. I know I have 1 tank behind supporting a little bit, but it still would have been probably smarter for him to go ahead and charge me. Luckily they didn't, even though that pesky Leo is still oh, I thought it was the Leo, but it's actually the Luke's starting to put shots on my side, so I have to roll back to be careful with that. You just don't want to mess around with it. You could probably HE the side of him there, but at this distance, it's a little bit risky with this gun handling, so I want to take the guaranteed shots. That's another one I was hoping for the drive wheel, but it just is what it is. And I'm keeping an eye now, too, because I can see on the minimap, probably that PZ or the KV-1 is right here to my left, so I want to be aware if he tries to sneak back around. But I've allowed a lot of my hit points to kind of be whittled down, so I'm being cautious, especially with that Luke's, because he can really farm a lot of damage. He's got good pen. So I swing around hoping for it. He still pops out and shoots me. He's doing a good job, really, of working when my gun is turned away, which is exactly what you should do as that light. But still, I can swing around, and he lets him still stay out long enough to go ahead and get that shot. But so it's a lot of battling to only end up in a tied situation, but now I really don't have a lot of hit points at all, so you got to be cautious with that, especially with the Leo rolling by. But luckily he wasn't focused on me and able to do it. But either way, I'm trying to conserve hit points as much as possible and just pick shots. I can see now that their team is totally split. We've got 2 on this side and 2 over on rails, so it lets you kind of have the ability to know you can take out some of these tanks closer to you first, but also seeing our T-49 is pretty wounded, so chances are they're going to be able to come back and work their way towards us here pretty soon. So I always want to use these little kind of ridges if we can, because it essentially lets you go hold down. The Wolverine's not something that's going to have an invincible turret, but it does tend to bounce a little bit, especially when you're moving around, especially at Tier 5. At Tier 6, it's probably just going to have stuff go straight through it, but like I said, anytime you can make yourself a smaller target, that's always going to be an advantage too, and now we've kind of worked our way back. But it's true in necessarily any battle that you want to play to the end and not just charge out, because you just don't know if you can depend on your team or not. But in low tiers, that's even more true. So I certainly am not going to just go screaming at this M4 because I'm a one-shot. Trying to use the hit point pool that's still on that KV-1. I was kind of hoping the M4 would just run right by him to try and get into a circle, which is what, you know, some players would do. And finally I'm able to get that shot into him just like that. But I'm just being cautious with it. And that's why I know a lot of people don't like low tiers, and honestly I don't play it a lot either. But I feel like the skill level balances out a little bit because of the amount you have to carry. There's a lot more players that don't necessarily have the high level skills, so you're going to have to carry the team a lot more often, and I think that balances out a little bit the fact that you're also up against a weaker competition. So it's kind of just an interesting way to look at it. Okay, and rolling into one more just because why not? These low tiers are fun, and I think these are kind of entertaining with this tank. So we're on Rockfield. I pretty much am always going to go to this side in the low tiers because that's pretty much just where the low tier guys go. So I'm not too worried about it. High tier, I don't mind the other end as much, although I don't think the win percentage is as high up there because the shooting lanes are a little wider, but that's okay. I tend to like this corner versus hiding back when I'm high tier because I can get some immediate shots if something starts to roll up. And luckily, that's exactly what happens. They tend to run right out in front of you, even at high tier, so it lets you get some of those sneaky shots off first. And you can also maybe notice there, I hadn't talked about equipment a whole lot because I've been moving in this tank quite a bit because of the speed, but I do have binocs on it. Because if you get into a tier 6 game and can hide in a bush, I think that's a pretty good tactic with this tank, especially any of the tank destroyers with turrets, because you can see a long way off and you're not going to reset camo by turning your turret. Turretless with bad gun arc, I don't like to do that so much, and I tend to run optics because I find you reset the binoculars of the camo too much. But with the turreted tank destroyer, it works really, really well. So it had picked up there for a second. It lets you kind of pick up a little farther through some of those bushes. So normally I don't like to cross back and forth, and that's exactly why, because their whole team wasn't necessarily spotted, and it makes you really vulnerable. But I'm guilty of this too at low tier. Sometimes I take some chances I shouldn't. That doesn't necessarily work in good gameplay, but it put me in a good position now to go ahead and keep shooting at the tracks of this leopard and pinning him up there, which that's a really dangerous tank at tier 5, so I'm trying to go ahead and get rid of him. Luckily he just kind of scoots out, but I can kind of pick up on my peripheral that this SU has popped up behind me, so I need to rotate anyway. You can see I was switching to HE to give it a shot. I still didn't have a really good handle in the pen on this HE, so I had to check it there instead of just going for it. But good thing I did. I'm able to wipe him down quite a bit, but our team isn't doing super well at this point either. We're down 2 tanks, so being careful, and I'm charging here because I always in these situations don't want to have tanks in on kind of multiple flanks for me. I know a lot of them are across, and I knew a few were to my right, so having one on my left would have been really dangerous. So that's why I went ahead and pushed this direction, and it's also going to let me go ahead and start working up into these hills a little bit, where the hills are really where the Wolverine does do a good job if you're going to have to play it slow and not just drive around to use your speed. It reminds me in a lot of ways of the Hellcat, I think, just a little bit bigger, a little not quite as small, better traverse. But you can kind of play it in a similar way, where it really does move around the battlefield pretty good, and it has some nice, I think, gun characteristics too. So at tier 5, you know, I hadn't really thought about it too much, but I could easily call it kind of a Hellcat comparison. So able to pick up those couple quick ones right there. Now it lets me just kind of drive right in. Now with the advantage, I'm not as worried about it. As long as you can kind of keep that front with some angle, you can see them wiggling quite a bit. You know, lower tier players sometimes will struggle with that, and either way, it's just good practice. I'm getting some nice bounces. You can see where, because this tank is so boxy, kind of like a Tiger 1, once you get it turned, you actually end up with a lot of basically effective armor at those angles, especially at the same tier. So it just kind of works really nice. I'm chasing the Lukes here a little bit just because I don't want him to fully get away, and he's the closest one to me. I don't remember for sure, but I actually think that rolling off was a mistake. I don't think I meant to do that. Might have been a little bit of a noob moment, but I don't know. Maybe I knew he was going to run away and didn't. Sorry, this is an older gameplay, so I just don't remember for sure whether I meant to do that or not. I certainly didn't mean to treat my tracks off, but just something that kind of comes along with it, obviously. So just toning tanks down, and the speed with this makes it really possible, which is pretty fantastic too, and just kind of working through my last few, because again, low tiers, you end up with a little more campers too. So hopefully you enjoyed this. Like I said, I know I don't do a lot of low tier stuff. I've been working on light skills, so I have more low tier stuff coming as just kind of entertainment value. So we'll see if you enjoy it or not. Either way, don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already, and follow on Twitch. Going to be on a little bit of a break, but plenty more coming up soon. So thanks a lot, guys.